We are the Gujarat Technological University. Since its inception over a decade ago, GTU has been empowering young and curating minds to realize their true potential. Over 4 lakh inspired students are enrolled with one of the premier academic universities in India. With more than 450 affiliated colleges in its fold operating across 5 zones of the state, GTU, the International Innovative University, your place to move forward.
Namaskar. Welcome to Pharmacology YouTube channel. Inspired to learn. Today we discuss about the classification of antimicrobial drugs. It's also called as the chemotherapeutic agent. Let us start the classification of antimicrobial drugs is nothing but chemotherapeutic agent. The classification in the many ways, those are divided into many ways. First one, this is the chemical structure classification. Second one, the according to mechanism of action. Third one, the classification based on the type of microorganism against which primarily active. Next, spectrum of activity, types of actions, and antibiotics are obtained from the different sources. So this is the classification of antimicrobial drugs. First, varieties of classification based on chemical structures. According to chemical structure, the antimicrobial agents are classified into first one, sulfonamides and related drugs. Example is the sulfadiazine and dapsone. So many other example is there. Those we have to specific discuss into sulfonamide chapters. Second variety is diaminopyridines. Example trimethoprime and pyrimethamine. Quinolone. Example is the nalidixenic acid, norfloxacin, ciprofloxacins. Beta-lactam antibiotics, penicillins and cephalosporin is the main drug from this class. Tetracyclines, oxytetracycline and doxycyclines. Nitrobenzene derivative, chloramphenicol. Aminoglycoside derivatives, streptomycin, gentamicins and neomycins. Macrolides antibiotics, erythromycin, clarithromycin and azithromycin. Lincosamides antibiotics, lincomycin and clindamycins. Glycopeptide antibiotics, vancomycin and teicoplanin. Oxazolidines derivative, linezolid. Next, polypeptide antibiotics, polymyxin B, colistines and bacitracins. Nitrofuran derivative, nitrofurantoin and furazolidone. Nitroimidazole derivative, metronidazole and tinidazoles. Nicotinic acid derivative, isoniazide, pyrazinamides, ethionamides. Choline antibiotics, nystatin and amphotericin B. Azole derivative, miconazoles, clotrimazoles, ketoconazoles. And other varieties of the structure related classification, this is including rifampin, streptomycin, cycloserines and griseofulvi. So this is the main drug classified according to the chemical structure. And here just we include the some few example of those derivative. Now we move on the second varieties of the classification. This is the classification based on mechanism of action. This is the main classification of antimicrobial agent. In this first one, the drug that inhibit the bacterial cell wall or they activate the enzyme that disrupt the cell wall synthesis. Example is the penicillin, cephalosporin, cycloserins, vancomycins, and bacitracins. The drug that increase the cell membrane permeability or causes the leakage of intracellular materials. Example is polymyxin, colistin, bacitracins, amphotericin B, and nystatin. The drug that lethal inhibition of the bacterial protein synthesis, because the protein is the main material for synthesis of the bacteria. If we inhibit the protein synthesis, automatically bacteria, those are that become killed. Examples tetracyclines, chloramphenicol, erythromycin, and clindamycin is the main example from this class, causing the misreading of the mRNA code that affect the permeability. Example is the aminoglycoside, including the streptomycin and gentamicin. The drug that inhibit the DNA gyrase enzyme, fluoroquinolone, including the ciprofloxacin, is the main example from this class. The drug that interfere with the DNA functions. DNA is the most material for the development of the bacteria as well as the microorganism. Rifampin as well as the metronidazole is the best example from this class. Interfere with the DNA synthesis. Acyclovir and zidovudine. This specifically used for the antiviral agent. They interfere with the intermediate metabolism. The metabolism is the intermediate material, those are responsible for the bacteria development as well as the fungal virus or protozoal development. Example is the sulfonamide, sulfons derivative, para-aminosalicylic acid, trimethoprimes, and ethambutol is the main example from this class. Here you can see this is the general mechanism of action, those are involving the inhibition of the bacteria. First one, the cell wall synthesis. If this cell wall is synthesis is inhibited by the beta-lactam antibiotics. Example is penicillin, cephalosporin, carbapenem, and monobactam. Automatically bacteria, those are that become killed or inhibit the growth. Vancomycin and bacitracin that also inhibit the cell wall synthesis of bacteria. Second is the cell membrane. The inside the membrane is there. This is cell membrane. This is inhibited polymyxin. Another thing, this protein synthesis is inhibited. Protein synthesis is inhibited at the particular site. This is there called ribosome. Ribosome is the mainly two type, 50s ribosome and 30s ribosome. And the 50s ribosome, some of the drug, those are binding the 50s ribosome and that inhibit the synthesis of the protein. Example is the macrolides derivative, clindamycin, the linezolid, chloramphenicol, and the streptogramins. And another drug, those are binding with the 30s ribosome and that are inhibit the protein synthesis. Examples the tetracycline and some of the aminoglycoside derivatives. Another varieties of the classification, these are the drug binding with the nucleic acid synthesis that maybe that inhibit the RNA polymerase enzyme and these are responsible for synthesis of the proteins. DNA gyrase, these drugs that inhibit the DNA gyrase, example is the quinolone derivative and that inhibit the protein synthesis. As well as the DNA responsible for making the mRNA responsible for protein. So shortly we can see also responsible for the protein synthesis also. But here just you should remember that inhibit the DNA synthesis. Folate is the most important material for synthesis of the DNA, RNA as well as the protein because this is the metabolic product of the para-aminobenzoic acid. And sulfonamide and trimethoprim, those are inhibit the synthesis of folic acid. So this is the metabolites inhibition. So this is the mechanism of action that most important for the development of bacteria. Next, varieties of classification, these types of organism against which is primarily active. Suppose the infection, those are mainly occurred by bacteria. During those time we are using the antibacterial drug. So according to positive agent drug we are selected. This is called the types of organism against the agent. The first one, antibacterial agent. Narrow as well as the broad spectrum type of the antibiotic we are used. Example is the penicillin G, erythromycin, cephalosporin, and sulfonamides. If there are the infection occurring by the viral, during those time doctor may prescribe the antiviral agent. Example cyclovir and amantadine. This is some of the examples. Infections occur by the fungals. Due to this, we are using the antifungal agent amphotericin B and ketoconazoles. Infection occurs by the protozoal infection like the malaria. During those times, we are using the anti-protozoal agent. Example chloroquine and pyrimethamines. The infection occurring by the anthan, that means krumi. During those times, we are using anti-anthalmic drug mebendazole and niclosamides. Next varieties of classification, this is the spectrum of activity. Suppose the infection are occurring by the agent occurring by the particular agent. During those times, we have to select the narrow spectrum type of antibiotic and broad spectrum type of antibiotic. Narrow spectrum, that means these are the agent, those are binding with the only the one varieties of the bacteria, fungal or virus. This type of the agent we can see this narrow spectrum type of antibiotic. Penicillin G, streptomycin and erythromycin. Broad spectrum, these are the drug that inhibit the gram positive as well as the gram negative type of the bacteria. This type of the agent we can say broad spectrum type of antibiotic. Tetracycline and chloramphenicol. Here you can see this very good picture is there. In these are the drug that only inhibit only one color, that means one varieties of the bacteria. This type of agent we can say narrow spectrum type of bacteria, and here you can see these are the drug that inhibit the more than one type of bacteria or just the multiple type of the bacteria. This broad spectrum type of bacteria. This is called a spectrum of activity. Next variety, this is the types of actions. The drugs produce the bacteriostatic as well as the bactericidal action. Bacteriostatic, that means these are the agents that inhibit the growth of bacteria. Sulfonamides, nitrosofuran and erythromycin. Bactericidal, that means these are drugs that kill the bacteria. Penicillins, streptomycin and polymyxin B. According to this photograph, you are very well known thing. These are the drugs that inhibit, just that binding the bacteria, nothing to kill. This is called a bacteriostatic agent, and these are the drugs that kill the bacteria. In this you can see this is called the bactericidal type of the agent. According to origin, the drug may be classified. Antibiotics are obtained from the agent obtained from the fungus. Example is the penicillin, streptomycin aureus. This is the fungus varieties. Cephalosporin also get from the fungus. Griseophyllin we also get from the fungus. So this is the agent originated from fungus. They according to that divided into different varieties of bacteria, different varieties of classification. The drug obtained from the bacteria: polymyxin B, cholestains, bacitracins, and tyrothricins and aztreonam. So according to origin, this agent are obtained from the bacteria. Actinomycetes, aminoglycoside, tetracyclines, chloramphenicol, macrolides, and polines. So these are the agents obtained from the actinomycetes. So the drug is classified according to its origin, where we should get the drugs. Thank you very much for watching Pharmajosh YouTube channel. If you like these channels, share, subscribe, and please give me a comment and share to your friend. Thank you very much for watching Pharmajosh YouTube channel.